Evening. I'm spot on weather meteorologist Matthew Euler. Welcome to my latest forecast update video. This one on the 12th of December 2024. What a nice Christmas picture this is, everybody. Stockings hung there off the mantle, and the Christmas tree to the right. So a little bit of that garland there on the mantle itself with the pine cones. This is just a beautiful Christmas image. Again, happy holidays to everybody from Spot On Weather. We thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedules, specifically during the holiday time of year. You know, we're all kind of in a rush and kind of hustle bustle mode right now. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch this video. We really appreciate it. And also, thank you so much for subscribing to the Spot On Weather YouTube channel. We do appreciate the very kind comments that we receive. All right, so let's get into things tonight. Still going to be the same order that I usually do things. We're just going to look at the stratospheric polar vortex. We'll take a look to see what it's up to. We'll look at the quasi-biennial oscillation, the QBO, once again. We'll look at the latest global sea surface temperature anomalies. And then we'll move into teleconnections, the latest updates from anything from the Pacific North American PNA pattern, the North Atlantic Oscillation, the NAO, the Arctic Oscillation, AO, the Eastern Pacific Oscillation, the EPO, and the Madden-Julian Oscillation. And then we'll move into some of the, we'll actually skip a little bit more of the in-depth modeling tonight. I kind of shortened it up. I went mostly into, let's examine some of the 500 millibar height anomalies and some of the modeling today, and then we'll look at the temperature anomalies. If you hear noise in the background, it's just my dogs. They're playing right now. Um, they're wrestling around right now, making background noise, perhaps. So anyway, let's continue on with the video. By the way, I will end the video with final thoughts. All right, so this is December 2024 so far. Now, I made this last week. Let me go ahead and bring the laser pointer out. Okay, so the image on the left here is the prism temperature analysis anomalies in degrees Fahrenheit. Now, this was the one I showed in my last video on the left. And look, all the purple coloring from the northern plains, the Midwest, right into the Ohio Valley, as well as the Southeast and Mid-Atlantic. And you can see we were running double digits below normal across the Mid-Atlantic. For many other locations too here in the eastern U.S., including the deep south, all the way down to northern Florida. We saw all the warmest temperatures on last week's update for the December temperature anomalies, warmer than normal temps out in the western U.S. Now, over here on the right, I added this today, kind of showing you how things have changed over the last 6 days or so. So you don't see the purples anymore, right? There's no purple coloring from the Midwest, Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley, Mid-Atlantic to Florida. That's now been replaced with, you know, more single-digit anomalies below normal, talking 4 to 6 degrees in this green coloring across Virginia, the Carolinas down to Georgia, as well as Florida now. So what does this tell us? It tells us that the last 6 days have been milder across this area, from the Midwest to the East Coast, and so the anomalies are not as significantly below normal now. We still see, though, the key pattern here, it's a common theme in the video, is we still see these above normal temperature anomalies across Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, and the western U.S. as a whole. Now, let's look at the stratospheric polar vortex forecast. Let's look at the latest update here. Now, this graphic here on the left from Zach D. Lawrence, this was actually put out yesterday. This is the latest I could find today, the 11 December update. So the zonal mean zonal winds here on the left, when they get stronger or the wind speeds increase, westerly wind speeds increase in the stratosphere above 60 degrees north latitude, that indicates that the stratospheric polar vortex is getting stronger. If you see this, these lines here, these different colored models here, the lines here represent different models. If you see that crash downward, that indicates a weakening stratospheric polar vortex and weakening zonal mean zonal winds. So what do we got today here on the 12th of December? We had a little bit of strengthening since the last video. Not much, but just slight strengthening. We're sitting at about 47 meters per second zonal mean wind speeds. And we now see from this point until about mid-December, 14, 15 December, we see a little drop off or slowing down of those westerly wind speeds in the stratosphere above 60 degrees north latitude. And then we see quite a bit of divergence in the modeling. And I mentioned this last week. Whenever these models are far apart, and this is typical the further out in the future you get, the farther apart these models are, these colored lines to each other, indicates greater uncertainty beyond the 20th of December, right on up to about the 27th of December. So there's a wide spread of possibilities here as far as the zonal mean zonal wind speeds beyond the 20th of December, ranging from, very strong strengthening of the polar vortex with this orange line going up almost to 60 meters per second zonal mean zonal wind speeds, to this lighter blue line down here, which is about 15 meters per second weaker than this orange line. So there is a large spread between these models beyond, the 20th, but especially beyond Christmas, the 25th. So, but what we can definitely say right now is we still are seeing a strong stratospheric polar vortex right on through about the 19th of December, right here. And again, there's lots of uncertainty of what's going to happen with the strength of the stratospheric polar vortex, and I'll tell you why here in a moment. Over here on the right, we are looking at, again, today, the 12th of December, 2024, we are looking at these white solid lines are lines of equal height. And whenever these white lines are elongated or stretched out, that indicates we have a stretching polar vortex. The more symmetrical or circular in shape these white solid lines are, these height lines, the stronger the stratospheric polar vortex. You can clearly see where the center of the stratospheric polar vortex currently resides, and it's going to be located right where, let me find my mouse here. Right here I put the red X. That's where the center of the stratospheric polar vortex is located. And it's really no surprise this time of year. It's up over, the higher latitudes up towards the North Pole. So let's examine what happens now with these temperatures, okay? Now that orange line, by the way, represents the GFS model. The purple line represents the GEOS. The green line is the Jeffs ensemble average. And then you have the CMC Jeffs ensemble average, which is this blue, lighter blue line. And then we have the fleet numerical EPS ensemble average, which for some reason stops right here, so it's not functioning correctly. But regardless, you're noticing something here. Beyond the 15th of December, we're seeing all these model lines going upward. That's why I drew this red arrow up. All these model lines are going upward, which indicates a warming in the stratosphere. All right? And again, the uncertainty increases beyond the 20th of December, which you'd expect with the models. The further out you get in time, the greater the uncertainty. So we do have warming temps forecasted to be in the stratosphere basically from the 15th to the 20th of December, and this could potentially weaken the stratospheric polar vortex over time. Now, what does it mean? Just because we have a sudden stratospheric warming, it may not translate back down to the surface. It may not couple, in other words. The connection may not exist between the stratosphere down in the troposphere where we live. And so, because there's a stratospheric warming, all we're saying are the temperatures are going to be warming in the stratosphere. Now, in some cases, that indicates a weakening stratospheric polar vortex. And there's a couple possibilities when you weaken the stratospheric polar vortex. You can get a displacement where the polar vortex comes off the pole. You can get a split where you have multiple vortices. You can get an elongation or a stretching of the vortex. So, and also another caveat here is we really don't know if the vortex is weakened necessarily 10 days out where the coldest air is going to go. Is it going to go over to the Eurasia side? Is it going to go over to the western portion of North America only? Is it going to go to the eastern portion of the U.S.? So there's a lot of uncertainty here, but I always find this quite interesting. I mean, I look for those signatures of the stratospheric warming, and I'll show you some graphics here towards the end of the video, which will go into that more. Now look over here on the right. I'm showing you now what the stratospheric polar vortex, the shape of it, by these white solid height lines, what it looks like on the 19th of December, 2024. And let's compare the shape. So it looks kind of elongated or stretched out here, going down towards eastern Canada today on the 12th of December. But by the 19th of December, very circular in shape. You notice that? All these lines are pretty circular. So what's been happening to this point is we've seen the stratospheric polar vortex go through these phases of stretching and then contracting back to the pole, and then stretching again and contracting back to the pole. Let's look at the QBO now, what's going on with this. When you see the letters QBO, this stands for quasi-biennial oscillation, and what it refers to is the winds in the stratosphere above the equator. And over here on the right, you can see again, what happens is the brown colors indicates a westerly QBO, where we have westerly winds in the stratosphere above the equator. This greenish aqua color, the letter E, represents the easterly phase of the QBO. If we go all the way back to 1980, or just prior to that, perhaps 1978, all the way up to the present time, you'll notice the regularity of the westerly phase of the QBO, where the winds are westerly over the equator, alternating with the easterly phase of the QBO, where the winds reverse direction in specific winters. And so you see a regular east-west, 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 all the way to present time. Now, presently, we are in the westerly phase of the QBO. And you can kind of see it. Let me go ahead and circle it here. You kind of can see what's going on right in here, the brown shading. We're in that phase right now. And so what that means, and from previous research, the westerly QBO is typically associated with a strong stratospheric polar vortex during the winter. And we're seeing a fairly strong stratospheric polar vortex right now. If we look now at the sea surface temperature anomalies from the NOAA Coral Reef Watch Daily 5-kilometer SST anomalies from yesterday, 11 December, let's examine some key areas here. Okay, first we continue to have well above normal water temperatures east of Japan, working their way towards the east across the north central and northwest Pacific Ocean. We still see above normal waters across the tropical areas around Taiwan and the Philippines, Guam, the Marianas Islands there. In the western Pacific, we have above normal waters there. We also are starting to see a little bit of cooling across the tropical Indian Ocean, but this may be due to that tropical system. There was a recent tropical system that may be resulting in some upwelling with those winds really churning the seas, and you get the cooler waters come up to the surface from the deep. You see this blue stretching line here from the eastern and central equatorial Pacific. This is associated with a potential developing La Nina, which NOAA today came out and said, we're increasing the chance of La Nina to develop between now and the months of January and February, up to 59% now, I believe. It was 57%. So they raised the prospects of La Nina developing slightly. NOAA has today. They also put out an ENSO blog, so check that out if you really want to get more details. Overall, though, these are the main points I'm looking at. We do see below normal waters in the Gulf of Alaska, but this is much less colder than normal at this point because there's been a very dominant ridge, upper ridge over this location with a negative EPO. And so with upper level ridges, the weather is usually fair and usually don't get a lot of wind mixing the water very much to churn these waters. So it is cooler than normal still in the Gulf of Alaska, but not as cold as it once was, say, last week or the week prior. Let's examine now the Niño region comparisons. We'll start off with the Niño 1+2 region. Now look over here on the upper right. I'm circling where these Niño regions are, right, this graphic. Niño 1+2 is immediately right off the west coast of South America. Niño 3 is just to the west of that. Then you have Niño 3+3.4, which covers both areas. And then you got Niño 4, which is furthest west. So let's start with the Niño 1+2 area, which is just right off the west coast of South America. Right now, the value, how the waters are running, generally minus 0.51 degrees Celsius below normal water, right off the west coast of South America right now. Bottom right shows the Nino 3, how the water is doing in relation to normal. That zero line, it's below that zero line, so it's cooler than normal. Running this area here, Nino 3, is running minus 0.797 degrees Celsius below normal, so pretty significant below normal in that region. Moving on now to the Nino 3.4 area here. And for the first time, since I've really been following this closely, we see now a value of minus 1.022 degrees Celsius. So you can see the trend here, how it's been working its way down and colder between November 28th and December 12th. So the last 2 weeks, it has gotten colder, the waters in this Nino 3.4 region. By the way, that Nino 3.4 region remains the coolest region of all the regions. And then you have the Nino 4 area, which is furthest west out here. And we've seen a pretty good nosedive here. Look at the blue line here, how it's dropped. Really, since the end of November to present time, the value is now minus 0.68 degrees Celsius below normal water in that Nino 4 region. All right, so now let's move into the teleconnections. Let's first examine the EPS. This is the PNA, Pacific North American Pattern of 50 perturb member forecast. It's a 15-day forecast, initialized at 00 Zulu, 12 December 2024. And you see the green line, it represents the average of all the 50 ensemble members. So it kind of goes right down the middle. You notice you have a maximum possibility and a lower or minimum possibility. And that green solid line is the average of all these ensemble members. So we start off today on the 12th of December at neutral, according to the EPS, PNA 50 perturb member forecast, and it remains neutral right on through this time here, the 16th of December. But then look at the PNA go positive. It goes up, and it remains positive right on through the 27th of December. The EPS PNA 50 perturb member, this was from 00Z 9 December. I did look at this updated run tonight. A very similar look. This is the 46-day forecast all the way out into late January. And again, we're near neutral today on the 12th. Let me go over here. We're slightly positive today on this model for the PNA. I was off a little bit there. But we are going to go strongly positive. So that means we're going to have rising upper level heights. I'll show you the ensembles here in a moment. But this is a pretty significant positive PNA situation, right? Peaking right just before the 21st of December, right before the winter solstice. And then it starts dropping down a little bit closer to neutral. But it's still positive all the way to the 1st of January. And then it drops slightly negative after that through late January, according to this model. The NOAA Jeffs V12, this is 30 perturb members on this model, showing the PNA generally neutral today. And it is going to also show, it's also showing a strongly positive PNA peaking on the 21st of December. And it stays this is one of the more robust models as far as the strength of the positive PNA. It stays positive all the way through 28 December on this model. Looking now at the North Atlantic Oscillation, the NAO. This is the EPS, NAO, 50 perturb member forecast, 15 days out to the 27th of December. We have a negative NAO presently, but then it goes sharply positive between the 14th and the 18th of December. Then it goes back positive again, a little bit stronger positive beyond the 19th of December. It's pretty much positive the entire run out through the 27th of December on this model, the NAO. The European EPS, NAO 50 perturb members, 46-day forecast, goes out to late January. You see that we're negative today, but we're starting to climb upward towards neutral. And then we go strongly positive again towards middle, about the 16th and 19th of December. And then we go towards neutral, back to positive again on this NAO forecast, and then back to neutral conditions right on through the end of January. Looking at the NOAA Jeffs V12, NAO 30 perturb members, we are negative today with NAO. It's going to climb to positive values, showing a very similar situation as EPS. And then it's going to remain positive right on past the 20th of December. And it gets closer to neutral by the time we get to the 26th and 28th of December. The AO Arctic Oscillation, EPS, AO 50 perturb member forecast, showing a negative phase of the AO today, and it's going to rise up to positive territory from the 13th, or actually right around the 14th to about the 17th. Positive AO here, and then it's going to drop slightly negative, ride the neutral line here, and then maybe slightly positive Christmas Eve to the 27th of December. The EPS 50 perturb member 46-day forecast, very similar here. Negative AO today, climbing to positive by the mid-month period, 16 December, dropping slightly negative, riding the neutral line the rest of the way pretty much for the rest of the month of December and 3 weeks into January. And then the NOAA Jeffs V12 AO 30 perturb member forecast, starting off negative, today going positive, coming down towards neutral for the remainder of the period through the 28th of December. And then finally, let's look at the Eastern Pacific Oscillation, EPO. What's the latest on it from the forecast models? Starting with the EPS 50 perturb member forecast, showing a positive phase of the EPO, and then it's going negative, and wow, more deeply negative between 19 and 21 December. This is quite a drop, and this has gotten stronger over the last couple days. So we'll watch that trend. A negative EPO generally sets up your cross-polar flow. What does this mean? That means the air comes straight from Siberia into the Midwest and eastern U.S. potentially. With a negative EPO, you get a huge building ridge into the Gulf of Alaska up towards the Bering Sea. And then you also have a near neutral. You notice this forecast model here, the EPS 50 perturb member shows it going more neutral. The EPO 22nd, 23rd December, and then slightly positive again, 26 and 27 December. Moving ahead now, EPO forecast, 50 perturb member, 46-day forecast out to late January. We're starting negative today. We're in the negative territory of the EPO today, but then it gets to positive territory here with the next couple days. Goes back towards neutral, maybe a little bit of dip to negative there, according to this model. And then back to positive again, beyond the winter solstice, 21 to 26 December. And look at this significant drop to negative in early January. That's really what we're watching and looking for. Finally, the NOAA Jeffs V12 EPO 30 perturb members, part of this ensemble suite. EPO is positive today, gets close to neutral between the 16th and the 19th of January. Then it takes a nice little tumble here. Look at that green line goes down to negative territory between late in the 18th to the 21st. And there's another drop-off, according to the Jeffs V12, from the 24th to the early morning on the 26th. All right, so now let's move into the teleconnections. All right, so I'm showing you a couple different forecasts here, starting with the one here on the left. The one on the left is the NOAA Jeffs V12 bias corrected MJO forecast from today, the 12th of December, to the 26th of December. Anytime you see the numbers along these lines, this generally indicates, well, first of all, the black line indicates where the MJO has been. So it's kind of like an archive or history of where it's been. And this other red-blue line indicates the forecast. So the numbers next to these dots indicate the date of the month. So the red line indicates, the starting point here around the 12th of December. We're in MJO phase 5. And then we kind of rotate by the 18th closer to this inner circle, the small inner circle here, the null phase. But then the Jeffs V12 bias corrected has the MJO going back out into phase 6 through the 26th of December. The middle diagram is the Jeffs V12 extended. Now this one is the extended, so it goes all the way out to the 11th of January. It's going to have very similar scenario. We're in stage 5 today, or phase 5 today for the MJO, going into the weaker null phase briefly around the 19th of December, but then coming out in the stronger phase 6 and stronger phase 7. By the time we get to 11 January, look at where the MJO is. I mean, it's heading towards phase 8. And over here on the right is a European model, ECMWF, bias corrected from today, the 12th of December, right on through the 26th of December, showing the MJO currently in phase 5, working its way in towards this center small inner circle here, the null phase on the 18th and 19th and 20th, coming back out into weaker phase 6. Moving on to the last forecast, I want to show you the last model. This is the CFS V2 extended bias corrected from the 12th of December through the 10th of January, showing where the MJO is in phase 5 today. It kind of looks similar, honestly, to a lot of these models. A lot of these models are in very good agreement of where we're at now and where the MJO is going through like the 18th and 19th of December. So about a week out from now, just under a week, all these models are showing the MJO working its way in towards the null phase and then coming back out into phase 6 to varying degrees and various strengths. Now, the CFS V2 has a much stronger 26 December, 30 December, 1 January, and then 3 to 10 January, the MJO is in phase 7, according to the CFS V2 extended bias corrected. So really, a lot of the models are in good agreement for the next 6 to 7 days, and then models vary from there on how strong it gets into phase 6, and does it actually get this strong into phase 7. Now, if you look at the left-hand graphic, this shows temperature composites for the months of November, December, and January. The orange coloring indicates above normal temperatures, so you clearly see phase 4, actually we start down here, yeah. Phase 3, phase 4, phase 5, and phase 6 are milder phases of the MJO. And I mentioned this before in a video, how, let me draw this out. So what it's saying on this graphic for the months of November, December, and January, with the orange coloring on the left, phases 3, 4, 5, and 6 are the warm phases. I drew the red line here. I'm going to put a W next to it. Okay. Now, let me change the color of this. And it's saying, let me go to blue here. And it's saying that phases 7, 8, and 1 are cold phases. This is the cold side of the MJO phase diagram, where that blue line is. So we're working our way towards colder phases, perhaps, by the time we get to early January. All right. I just wanted to show you that. I'll go ahead and go back to my pointer now. All right, now let's look at the upcoming weekend forecast. Some of you have some shopping to do still, maybe some last-minute Christmas shopping, or maybe you're going to be going out and getting together with friends or family. This is the entire picture of the U.S. here. I'm showing you the forecast on the left for the 14th of December, this Saturday afternoon, and on the right is the 15th of December, this Sunday. Wherever you see the green coloring, that indicates there's some sort of precipitation falling. This particular model doesn't delineate between rain versus snow, but no, it's a little unsettled wherever you see the green and there's actual precip falling. So it's going to be a little trickier traveling in places. Let's start on the left here with Saturday's forecast. It looks great in the Mid-Atlantic. Completely dry in the Mid-Atlantic from New England down to Florida. The chilly air kind of hangs on, a little cold air damming east of the Appalachians. For Saturday, very strong surface pressure still here in the Mid-Atlantic for Saturday. You have another disturbance here developing, an area of low pressure, weak low pressure, out near Kansas City on Saturday afternoon. So you're going to have precip from eastern Iowa down through eastern Missouri and central Missouri down through Arkansas. You also have some precip out into northern California coming up for Saturday, and there's some scattered precip up into Puget Sound, Seattle area. Over here on the right, how do things change for Sunday afternoon? You see the precip in Ohio working its way down into West Virginia, down in eastern Kentucky, into central Tennessee. Some scattered showers in northern Mississippi as well if you have travel plans for Sunday, the 15th of December coming up. Everywhere else, it looks pretty dry, though. Some scattered precip, maybe some scattered snow showers, especially at the higher elevations into the Bitterroot chain there of Idaho, and then also into the more mountainous areas of western Montana. Okay, so moving on. We'll keep moving on with the video. These are the European 2-meter temperature anomalies in degrees Fahrenheit now. This is Saturday on the left. Wherever you see the orange colors and these positive values, that indicates above normal temperatures. And so it's looking pretty mild this Saturday, anywhere from the Appalachians westward, really. Not much in the way of cold air, and even up into Canada, it's looking warmer than normal. Over here on the right shows the European 2-meter temperature anomalies in degrees Fahrenheit. You still see the cold air damming situation Whenever you get this blue color that lingers, got very strong high pressure over New England, so you got northeast winds, and those northeast winds are driving cold, dense air down to the east of the Appalachians into portions of the Piedmont and western Virginia. So you have a little remnant colder than normal temperatures on the order of 3 to 7 degrees below normal, but that's due to that cold air damming situation. You do have very mild temperatures across the Midwest, the northern plains. Minnesota, Minneapolis, 11 degrees above normal for Sunday. Wisconsin also 10 to 12 degrees above normal. All the way down into the southern plains, East Texas and Oklahoma running 15 to 20 degrees above normal for Sunday. So looking really mild for many of us across the U.S. this upcoming weekend. Now let's move ahead a little bit in time, and I'll show you some modeling here. This is a European, the EPS 500 millibar height anomalies forecast. This is for, I have Tuesday the 17th of December, so this is next Tuesday on the left, and I have Wednesday the 18th of December on the right. Purple, green, and blue colors indicate upper troughs, lower than normal heights, which is associated with colder than normal surface temperatures and more unsettled conditions. The bright orange colors here, the deeper the hue of the orange, the greater the height anomalies, the higher the normal height anomalies. Those are associated, the orange color, with ridging. Upper level ridges are typically associated with dry weather beneath them because the air is sinking vertically downward. So you have nice fair weather under these ridges and milder than normal temperatures. So if we look at the forecast, let's start off with the European or the EPS 500 millibar height anomalies forecast for next Tuesday, the 17th of December. You've got some pretty impressive, well above normal heights there working their way into the maritime provinces of Canada. You also have a nice area of anomalously higher than normal heights there in the Arctic Ocean north of Alaska. That's pretty significant. There is a deep trough, but it's well to the west, just south of the far western Aleutian Islands across the North Pacific. And you also see some ridging that's taking place. Let me circle this. Let me see what color do I want to use to really stand out. Okay, so let's do this. So you got the ridging located from the Pacific Northwest up into Alaska. This is a really strong upper level high there in the Arctic Ocean north of Alaska for next Tuesday. You do see that strong ridging again here into the Canadian maritime provinces. And, once you get the ridging here in this location of Western North America, you get more of the troughing downstream. But it appears to be very weak troughing, actually, not very deep troughing there, 17th of December. So overall, the flow looks pretty much west to east, more of a zonal jet stream, with milder air for many of us across the U.S. This upcoming Tuesday, the 17th of December. Over here on the right, we still have a pretty good enclosed upper high and generally with the Arctic Ocean north of Alaska, and we still see this ridging working its way upward into western Canada. We see troughing over the central U.S. at this point, and then we see more ridging. It moved a little bit further to the northeast, just south of Greenland, but not really a true negative NAO by any sort. Let's look at the European 2-meter temperature anomalies now for the 17th of December. Next Tuesday, the 17th on the left, and then on the right is Wednesday, the 18th of December. Anything in green and purple colors, it indicates below normal temperatures. Anything in these brighter orange colors indicate above normal temperatures. All right, so on the Tuesday, the 17th, excuse me, I have to take a drink after I talk so long. This air is really dry tonight. We have dew points in the 20s across eastern Virginia right now. So, yeah, I have to drink a little more fluid when I'm talking. Anyway, let me circle some of this stuff for you. The forecast for the temperature anomalies now, 17 December. Notice this purple and green color across central and western Canada associated with below normal temperatures. But again, much of the U.S. is above normal, especially from the Gulf Coast up to the mid-Atlantic and New England. Temperatures are running 15 to 20 degrees above normal for Tuesday afternoon, the 17th of December. Over here on the right, we're seeing the coldest air kind of seeping down into the Dakotas and Minnesota by this point. But we still have some very mild readings across the southern U.S., the Gulf Coast, on up into the mid-Atlantic, and running even 3 to 5 degrees Fahrenheit above normal into New York State and Pennsylvania. by Wednesday, the 18th of December. Now let's move ahead a little bit further in time. Let's look at the 500 millibar, the EPS 500 millibar height anomalies for the 20th of December. This is next Friday on the left, and then Saturday, the 21st of December, the winter solstice on the right. This is one impressive ridge, everybody. I mean, if this were to verify, this ridge axis from Nevada, Utah, northward through Idaho, Montana, this is a very tall ridge. It goes all the way up into the Arctic Ocean. From the desert southwest of the U.S. all the way up to the Arctic Ocean. And then you have a very cold core low there, enclosed low, northeast of Hudson Bay. And you got this trough establishing itself generally east of the Mississippi River. Over here on the right, we see that the ridge axis has shifted slightly east from New Mexico, Arizona, working its way northward in Montana, and then Alberta and Saskatchewan provinces of Canada. But this ridge still goes all the way up to the Arctic Ocean north of Alaska. And now look at what happens on the front side of that major tall ridge there. We get a deepening trough. This is a direct connection type trough from very cold region here. Let me draw this out for you. This is a very cold source of air coming straight down north to south across the eastern U.S., while we have ridging occurring all the way up into the Arctic Ocean here. And as with anything, if something goes up, it must come down the other side. So the taller this ridge grows in the western U.S., the deeper this trough will get and dig in the east. Here are the European 2-meter temperature anomalies now. On the left is Friday the 20th of December. This is from the European operational model, 2-meter temp anomalies. This is a very bullish model for a cold wave to come into the central U.S. initially and then work its way east. Beginning the 20th of December, it's kind of a transition day. We see well below normal readings now moving in from Canada into the Dakotas, Minnesota, Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota, western Wisconsin. We see a little patch of below normal readings as well along the mid-Atlantic coast, and those may be associated with some rain showers and clouds. But over here on the right, look what happens. Look how extensive this green coloring is. This indicates double-digit below normal readings for temperatures from east of the Rockies to the east coast by the 21st of December. This is a significantly cold shot of air coming down. And then generally west of the Rockies westward to the west coast, it's double-digit above normal. So this could be a really good cold shot coming down for anywhere from the 20th onward. And what about Christmas Eve on the left and Christmas Day on the right? It's looking like a colder Christmas overall across the eastern U.S., at least per what the guidance is showing today on the 12th of December. Well above normal temperatures have moved now into the Dakotas, Minnesota, Nebraska, and westward. But you got below normal readings from East Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia. Look at how below normal. We're talking 20 degrees below normal from Jacksonville, Savannah, Charleston, Wilmington, all the way up into southeast Virginia. You have another well below normal area there in Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut. So it's going to be quite cold on Christmas Eve, apparently. At least that's what the latest is here for the models. And then you see it kind of relaxing a little bit. Not as much green and purples to the right here on Christmas Day. But we're still below normal from the Ohio Valley to the Mid-Atlantic, up to New England, down to Florida. And above normal temperatures are now located over the Iowa area, Minnesota, Dakotas, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Montana, Wyoming as well, above normal for Christmas Day. Now, what happens with the stratospheric polar vortex? These are 3 different models. This is the NOAA GFS version 16 on the left. This is the European model in the middle, and then the Jeffs on the right. I want you to pay attention to the shape of the purple and green colors on each of these diagrams. Do you notice how that green and purple area is stretched out or elongated? All right. Let me show you something here. This white area indicates stratospheric warming on each of these graphics. I'm circling it in the black line here. I'm highlighting it. This is a stratospheric warming signature. And you can see the scale is on the right here. It's on the right of each of these graphics. So whenever you see the white colors, the deep oranges, that indicates warming in the stratosphere. Whenever you see these purples and greens and blues, that indicates colder than normal temperatures in the stratosphere. So that is really associated with your stratospheric polar vortex. So GFS model on the left, what do we have here? This is for the 28th of December on the left from the GFS. We have a stretched out stratospheric polar vortex. What I'm looking at here is if we get a positive PNA and a negative EPO, all this cold air, this stretched out vortex is going to allow for much colder air to come down from eastern Siberia right on down to southern Canada and the northern US. If we look over here in the middle, we're seeing some colder air over towards Europe, and we're also seeing some colder air moving in from Canada into the northern US. And then over here on the right, we're showing another elongation, that green color, elongation of the polar vortex by this is the Jeff's model on the right on the 26th of December. So it's very interesting to watch how this is all occurring, and it's something we need to continue to monitor. A stratospheric warming may potentially result in the stretching of the stratospheric polar vortex and some pretty good Arctic air to come down into the U.S. We'll have to see where. We don't know specifically yet, but we'll keep an eye on it. All right, so let's conclude the video tonight. I know I've been talking quite a bit. All right, so it's looking mild next week. Monday the 16th of December, right through the Thursday the 19th of December for the Mid-Atlantic. It's looking mild. That's the first thing I want to say in tonight's final thoughts. Now, there will be some occasional chances for rain showers as weak disturbances kind of move across the area from west to east. But we're really not at this time expecting any major soaking rain events. Not like we had yesterday with that Arctic front and really strong dynamics and a tropical plume coming up ahead of that strong Arctic front. Guidance is pointing to a much colder temps, really from that 20 December time period through the 25th of December through Christmas Day. But will it remain dry? Or will there be a storm associated with the cold air? Really too early to tell where a storm would form and, who would it impact? How close would it be to the coast? What's the tilt going to be of that trough? Too early to tell. It really is. So I knew everybody was going to go gangbusters today on the 12Z GFS because it showed a major snowstorm from the Carolinas northward along the East Coast up through Jersey. And it was just epic snow amounts on the GFS. And of course, 18Z GFS kind of debunked that right away. It's no longer there, everybody. It looks more like an anafrontal situation now with the Arctic front coming in and just a solid line of rain ahead of the front and then quick drying behind the front. Unless you go further north, of course, the rain will go over to snow up towards New England. But let's keep an eye on this. There has been some indicators from the modeling today of a potential storm developing either in the Gulf Coast or off the southeast coast from the 20th to the 23rd of December time period. Watch that time period. We'll see if the storm signal comes back on some of the modeling or if it just appears to be a strong Arctic front with moisture ahead of it and then just dry and cold behind it. The theme over the period, overall, though, I would say, really, in late December is higher than normal upper heights across the Pacific Northwest and Western Canada, associated with a positive PNA. Now, the zonal west to east jet stream configuration is expected for most of next week. Now, we'll give way to a weak trough midweek next Wednesday for the Mid-Atlantic, which will drop our high temperatures from the 60s down into the 50s. But that'll be a brief shot of cooler air next Wednesday. But we do expect, over time, from the 20th specifically to the 24th and 25th of December, we do expect the jet stream to buckle. A trough is going to dig in from the Midwest to the East Coast, and it's going to result in much colder air coming in. And it's going to actually feel pretty cold, it looks like, for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day for many folks in the eastern U.S. Now, the MJO is still in the milder phases 5 and 6, but may shift to phase 7 as we head into early January. So let's keep an eye on that. Always important to take a look at the tropical convection and where it's located at in the winter months. And we are still officially in ENSO neutral conditions per latest NOAA discussion. Now, they have increased the probability. It's a 59% now for La Nina to develop between now and during the winter months of January and February. The Pacific North American PNA pattern will be positive through late December. This favors troughing in colder temperatures over the Midwest to East Coast and the mildest temperatures over the western U.S. So it looks like a pretty mild Christmas if you're in California. If you're in the desert Southwest, pretty mild looking Christmas this year. And I think I'm going to take a big drink of water after this video, by the way. I'm struggling, guys, but I'm pushing through, okay? This is the last slide. So if we get a negative Eastern Pacific Oscillation EPO to complement the positive PNA, we could really see some colder air getting pulled down in the Midwest and Eastern U.S. in late December here as we head towards the holidays. And even beyond Christmas, between Christmas and New Year's, we could see a second shot of very cold air. So let's see what happens as we head into early January. It's setting up to be a potentially colder than normal period from the Midwest to the East Coast, late December, early January. And it does appear that after the cold air outbreak, we will see milder temperatures just after Christmas, but then there's another Arctic shot of air, Arctic cold air outbreak coming down right around the 27th, 28th, 29th time period. So we could actually see a reloading colder air moving southward again by New Year's, Midwest to East Coast. We'll watch for the storm signals. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I want to get this video out tonight. It's getting late. I certainly hope you enjoyed the video, and I apologize for all my hacking here. I tell you what, this air gets so dry, it makes your throat kind of have that tickle in it. So anyway, that's all I got for now, everybody. Again, thanks so much for subscribing to this channel. I'm going to get this video uploaded for everybody to see. And I'd certainly appreciate, again, kind comments from the videos. It takes me quite a bit of time to do these videos and also to kind of put these together. So I appreciate you looking over and checking out my thoughts and the latest updates I have on the various things that really determine winter and how the winter ends up. All right. That's all I got for now, everybody. Until next time, take care and God bless everyone.